Perhaps you are looking to invest in a technology ETF and you don't know where to get started. In today's video, I'm going to be going through some of the very best technology ETFs that are currently available on the market. We're going to be covering everything from past performance all the way through to fees, risk levels, and also having a look at the portfolio of each of these ETFs in some detail too. Hello, my name is Rachel and welcome back to the channel. So first of all, I wanted to mention that obviously when you are investing in a technology ETF, you are going to be seeing a higher level of risk than you would be if you were to invest in something simple like a FTSE All-World ETF, for example, Vanguard's FTSE All-World. You are going to be seeing that higher level of risk, which is illustrated in a higher standard deviation that you're going to be seeing with these technology sector ETFs. So with, for example, Vanguard's FTSE All-World, you are seeing a 3-year standard deviation of just above 10, whereas with these ETFs, these technology ETFs, you are seeing a much higher standard deviation of between 19 and 28. So where all else is the same, what you are looking for in terms of risk is a lower standard deviation. So these technology ETFs are much more risky, but what tends to come with higher levels of risk is hopefully higher levels of returns. And with these ETFs, we have seen some incredible returns historically. So that is why I wanted to share some of these technology specific ETFs with you today. So to give you an illustration of these incredible returns, had you invested £17,000 into one of these ETFs 10 years ago, that £17,000 would now be worth a whopping £108,000. So let's go into all of these ETFs in a great level of detail. As always, when you're investing, your capital is at risk. I want you to go away and do your own research after watching this video. Do not take my word for anything. Go ahead and do your own research. So the first ETF that I wanted to share with you is the iShares S&P 500 Information Technology Sector ETF. Now this is an ETF that I am invested in myself. The code for it is IITU, and this is the technology stocks taken from the S&P 500. So within this ETF, you are getting 67 different holdings, which are all obviously technology stocks. Had you invested £5,000 into this ETF 5 years ago, it would now be worth a whopping £14,704. So 3-year annualized returns for this ETF are 17.13, and 5-year annualized returns are a whopping 23.51. And annualized returns simply reflect the return every year on average that this ETF has seen. So it's obviously not going up at a steady rate of 23.51% a year. It's going up and down over the course of 5 years, and the average is 23.51% a year. So the ongoing charge for this ETF is just 0.15%, which is actually the lowest ongoing charge that we see in this list of ETFs that I'm sharing with you today. 3-year standard deviation is 19.73, and as I said, standard deviation reflects the level of risk. So this is showing you that this is a much more volatile investment than, say, for example, investing in something less volatile with a lower standard deviation. For example, Vanguard's FTSE All-World, which has a standard deviation of 10.19. So within this ETF, as I said, this is the S&P 500, but the tech stocks taken from the S&P 500. So there are 67 holdings within this ETF, of which the top 3 holdings are Apple, Nvidia, and Microsoft. And in terms of alternative providers, if you're looking for a similar investment at a slightly lower cost, you could look at Invesco's XLKQ, which has fees of 0.14%. Okay, so the next ETF that I'm going to be sharing with you is a more specific ETF. It is a thematic ETF, which focuses on semiconductors. So still tech stocks, obviously, but with that focus on semiconductors. And it's the Van Eck Semiconductor ETF. The code for this ETF is SMGB. 3-year annualized returns are 17.30, so slightly higher than IITU. And 5-year annualized returns simply don't exist because this ETF has not been established for 5 years. Ongoing charge is 0.35%, and 3-year standard deviation is a whopping 28.69. So again, much higher than IITU and much higher than the standard deviation that we're seeing from the FTSE All-World. The number of equity holdings is 25, so it's a very condensed ETF. This certainly wouldn't make up the whole of my portfolio. It would simply be a satellite investment investment. But I will say that I'm not currently invested in this ETF. So top 3 holdings are Broadcom, Nvidia, and Taiwan Semiconductors. An alternative ETF, if you didn't want to invest in the VanEck version, is the iShares Semiconductor ETF. The code for that is SEMI, so SEMI, and the fees for that are the same at 0.35%. Okay, moving on to our third and final ETF that I wanted to include in this video, and this is the NASDAQ 100. Don't worry, I know this isn't specifically a tech ETF. At the moment, the NASDAQ is very heavy on tech, and around 51% of the stocks in the NASDAQ 100 are tech stocks, but this isn't a specific technology ETF. But it is very, very heavy in tech, so I thought it was worth including in this video. The code for this is EQQQ, and if you had invested £5,000 into this ETF 5 years ago, it would currently be worth £12,000. 3-year annualized returns are 9.52%, and 5-year annualized returns are 18.84%. Now, I was invested in this ETF, but I made the decision a few years ago to put my money into IITU instead. The ongoing charge for this ETF is 0.3%, and the 3-year standard deviation is the lowest of these 3 ETFs at 18.21. There are 102 equity holdings within this ETF, of which the top 3 are Apple, Microsoft, and Nvidia. If you are looking for an alternative provider for this ETF, you could look at the iShares CNX1 ETF. Now the fees are slightly more for this at 0.33%, and where possible I would look to invest in ETFs that have the lowest fees if the service that they are providing and the ETF that they are providing is the same. Because with investing, fees are something that you can actually control. So please do take control of your investments and consider getting the lowest fees where possible. So that is my roundup of some of the very best tech ETFs that are available on the market at the moment. Please do let me know in the comments down below if you are invested in any of these tech ETFs, or if there are any tech ETFs you feel that I've missed out of this video and should include in future videos. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch, and I hope you have a lovely day. Oh, and subscribe if you fancy. Thanks so much. Bye bye.